In this tutorial, we'll help you set up the starter for your projects. So there are two assumptions I'm making here. So number one, you have already downloaded from your eClass site the archive file for the starter folder for your projects. So it's called Space Defender 2.zip. So just make sure you don't download the one Space Defender 1 for your Lab 3. So they are different. Okay, assuming that you have put it on the desktop of your remote lab machine, everything has to be initially set up from the remote labs or your virtual machine, because the ETF command is only available on your prison account. So please be careful. And then the second assumption I'm making is you may have a workspace folder for your 3311 420, and then I'm going to create an empty folder for your project in just a moment. Okay, that's something we're going to set up. All right, so let's now go to the terminal. If you don't know how to get there, you can simply go to Activities, and then you can click on this terminal icon over here. That's how you launch a terminal. Okay, so let's now, first of all, let's simply just go to your home directory, and let's now go to 3311 420 or wherever your working directory is. Okay, I'm going to make a empty work directory for my projects. So I'm going to say make directory and then projects. Let's make it capitalized. Okay, so now you can see that over here, there's an empty folder over here called projects, right? And then we're going to generate the starter projects for your ETF, just like how we did it for Lab 3. Let's do it. First of all, let me move this archive file into the project over here. Let's do that first. So I will type move on the desktop. So I will say tell that denoting my home directory, and then desktop, and space defender 2.zip. And then I want to move to, so I'm currently still in the 3311 420, the home directory. I mean the work directory for my 3311. So now I want to go into the projects. Okay, so now you can see that the zip folder is actually in the inside the project folder I just created. Okay, let's go into the projects. So I can say cd go to projects. Okay, let me just clear. And then you can see only the zip folder is there. So now let's unzip it. I would suggest you use the command line to do it. Sometimes you might run into error if you actually simply just try to double click on the zip folder. So I can say unzip and space defender 2.zip. Okay, it's going to be a folder here. It's very similar to the process of your 33 of your previous Lab 3. And eventually what you want to submit will be this particular folder inside which we're going to create, we're going to generate the ETF projects for your projects. Let's go into Space Defender 2. So now we got many files over here, okay, but I'll help you out on setting this up, okay? So that's the purpose for this video, really. Okay, let me clear, and then let's say ls. So now we got this Space Defender 2 folder. At the end of the video, I will show you how you can make your submission already, okay, just to make sure everything's working. So now I can go into Space Defender 2. Okay, let's now see. Okay, we got everything here. And the file we need in order to generate your ETF project for your project would be this grammar file, similar to how you did it for Lab 3. So let's do it now. So I can say ETF -new, and then I can say the grammar file. So space defender 2 grammar.txt. And then I want to generate right here, dot, in the current directory. Don't forget the dot over here. Okay, and then it's going to generate everything. Okay, right here, you can see the folder will be updated over here with all the generated stuff for the ETF project. So now let's do some housekeeping stuff to really make sure things look more organized. So first of all, we want to move all the acceptance tests over here. So this time we give you 15 acceptance tests, and also their corresponding expected files. So it'll be from AT001 to AT015 over here. So all these 30 files should really go into under the test folder, like in Lab 3. Let's do it now. Okay, let's now run the command line. So I'm going to say move at star.txt. Everything should go into the tests, acceptance, and also instructor, right? Everything should go under the instructor folder. And later on, you can create as many acceptance tests as you wish in your student folder. Okay, let's do that. So after this, you can see it's already much cleaner, right? So all the test cases has been moved under over here, under the tests, under acceptance, under instructor over here, right? Everything's here. All the 30 files are here. Okay, let's go back to here. So now we want to move other things into the docs folder. So first of all, I want to move the errors.txt. So this file tells you about all the error messages your program should really produce to really compare against the Oracle. So move this into docs. And also these messages, which I will maybe open up if I have time to really show you. You should really consider the messages.txt as the part 2 of your instruction. So the PDF instruction, which I will go over once we start compiling the project while we're waiting, I will show you the instruction. You can think about the PDF as part 1. This messages.txt will be part 2. You have to read both of them very carefully before you can start your developments. Okay. And then I'm going to move messages.txt into the docs. Okay. And then let's see what else. The README file, you can keep it there. So it's just like a written form for this tutorial video. If you already follow the video, you don't need to worry about it. Okay. And then we also need to put a grammar. Okay. There'll be 2 more things to put. And I'm going to say move space defender to the grammar.txt. And then I want to move that into the docs folder. Okay. So let's just clear. Okay. So now we're almost done. Let's also move this starter code. So this is a very small, brand new IFO project that's already working. So this contains the random number generator classes that you can simply use verbatim. So this is something I will speak about briefly when I go over the instruction with you. Okay, but just remember this starter code is given to you, in which case you are expected to use the 2 classes supplied to you verbatim. Okay, I'll go over that in a moment. Also move the starter code into the docs. Okay, so now you can see inside the docs. So basically we got all the documentation over here. Eventually you also need to put all the items related to your design documents into this docs folder. So later the TA or myself, we will be able to grade your design documents. Just remember, okay, everything should go under docs other than software. All right, so and also we got this oracle.exe over here, and then we'll talk about it. And I think that's everything. Okay, I think the organization now is good. Okay, just you can now go from there. So I would like to do what I would like to do is let me try to run the regression test right away together with you, just to make sure everything has been set up properly. So what I will do is I'm going to compile the project using space defender2.ecf. Do not worry about the fresh.ecf. You don't need to worry about it for your projects. Okay, I'll simply say EC. You can say 19.05, that's okay, but you can also say EC, which is a symbolic link to 1905, the latest version. -C, compile, and we don't need to finalize the project just yet, so we can just say freeze, in which case you're going to find your executable in the W code. Freeze. And then we're going to say -config, and now we need to go to the space defender2.ecf, space defender2.ecf. Okay, so now we're going to start compiling. So while it is compiling, I would suggest I talk about the instruction very quickly. Okay, so you can also download this PDF instruction from your eClass site. Okay, so notice one thing. So there are 2 phases for your projects, right? So already put a deadline over here. It's going to be right before the midnight and right before the midnight for phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 deadline is about November 25th. It's about 3 weeks from, slightly more than 3 weeks from the project was initially released. And December 9th is about 5 weeks after the project is released. And this is really the last day I can really put, because that's regulated by the university. That's the last dates that you can submit your work for grading. So please respect the deadline and plan your developments earlier enough. You can read the policy over here and notice that for this project here, we emphasize this already in the beginning of the course and also written up in the syllabus. For the projects for this term, since we are running the course completely online, so we decided you're going to do this projects individually. Okay, there's no teamwork that will be allowed for this project. Please note that change over there. Well, it's not really changed. It's being already emphasized in the beginning of the semester. Okay, if you want to know more about the rationale for why we're doing this, you can see section number 1, explain about the rationale. You may have seen the rationale already in the announcement when I released the projects. Okay, you can read them through. I think that's something that's final, so no teamwork will be allowed for this term. Okay, But we already, I think the workload should be doable for this project to be completed throughout 5 weeks. So please make sure you start early. Otherwise, you will not be able to finish that. Okay, section 1 is just about rationales for the individual work policy. And then section 2, and with in light of single choice principle, we do not have to repeat any sections that have been already written up in your lab number 3. So I would say for this section here about, for example, how you can work from your home machine, what will be the grading criterion for this particular project, and also about how you should really report the issues of the oracle given to you, and also about the required tutorials. I believe all of you have already seen, already studied the ETF tutorial already. That's required by lab number 3. But I would say if there's any specific details that you need to recall, you should really refer to the ETF tutorial, especially how you set the execution parameters for debugging purpose. That's just one example. Okay. And also, it will be very important for you to actually change your ETF mode from GUI mode into command line mode. I just realized if I forgot to set it. Okay, so as soon as the current compilation is done, I'm going to set it and then recompile. That's what I would do. So just don't forget. You should always focus on your developments using the command line mode, because that's how we're going to grade your submission. Just remember. And also about the policy of modification of the cluster structure, basically you can do whatever you like under the model cluster. Outside that, you should really only change the body of the implementation for each of the ETF commands. You can see the section for more details. But the policy has been consistent from lab 3. And then for your phase number 1, which will be due in about 3 weeks after the project is released, you should really see the grading criterion over here about how many starter tests you will be expected to pass. And notice that for phase number 1, there should be no surprise. So all the tests you will be run against, all the grading tests that will be run against your submission will be the 15 starter tests that we gave to you, only that. However, for phase number 2, well, for phase number 1, the main intention really is to make sure you're on the right track. But in phase number 2, we'll do more thorough testing beyond the 15 starter tests given to you. Okay, just notice the difference over here. Okay, and then so here is simply just a suggested sequence of developments for your project over here. Let me just see how the compilation is going. Unfortunately, the compilation failed on my student account. Let's see. So that's why I wanted to show you as well. So it's a very common error which I see from your fellow students they run into. So if you actually, whenever you see the error over here, don't panic. You want to see if you can make any sense out of the error message given to you. So if you simply scroll up to the top of this stack trace over here, you can see over here it says this quota exceeded, right? It's a very common reason why compilation might fail. It's simply because you have no disk quota over here to really accommodate your generated C code from the compilation for your iPhone projects. So in this case, how can I fix it? Basically, what you have to do is go to your work directory for this course and then try to delete all the ifgens from the previous lab or any previous exercises you do so you can clean up the space. And notice one thing. So whenever you delete any ifgen folder, you want to make sure you also empty the trash so that you wouldn't be counted towards your disk quota. Just make sure you do that, okay? I've done that already, so now let me just recompile again. Okay, so now I will simply just say, I will just rerun the command, and now this time the compilation should be okay. Okay, so let me simply just go back to my instruction over here, and let me just go on. Okay, suggested sequence for developments. You want to make sure, first of all, you review the ETF tutorial. Okay, and then you want to read through these documentation here, especially section 6 will be in this PDF, just the next section. And also messages and errors.txt. Let me show you right away. So now let me just go to your docs folder over here. If I go in there, you can see we got messages and also we got errors. Okay, if you open up messages, it's actually a self-contained document over here. Think about it's more like a supplement to your section 6 in the PDF instruction. So this one tells you exactly the messages you're supposed to produce by your program in order to match the oracle. So that's something I'll leave you to read. Maybe after the first week of your after your project is released, I'm going to hold some maybe Q&A session, maybe to go over some important rules for the game together with you. But you need to do your homework first. You want to make sure you read through all the documentation we give to you. Once you understand exactly how the game is supposed to work, hopefully that will make your developments much more convenient and also more straightforward. Okay, that's the messages.txt. And also we got another one, which is errors.txt. So this file over here shows all the error messages that your program is supposed to produce, also to match against the Oracle, right? So not just the PDF instruction, but also errors and messages.txt, these two files as well. Make sure you read them all together, okay? Okay, so the C compilation completed, so it's now all good, okay? But remember, there was one thing I forgot to do. Let me do it now. I forgot to change from the GUI mode into the command line mode. Let me do it right away. So if I go to my SpaceFit Defender 2, the top level here, let me just do this. I can say gedit. I can go to the root class and go to root.e and then ampersand. Okay, so let me change that line over here. So now I want to overwrite the default over here. I don't want to use any GUI. Okay, I just want to use a command line because only that I can actually perform regression testing automatically. Okay, you can save it. Okay, one last compilation we have to do, please. Okay, let me just rerun the compilation command just once more. So this will make sure everything compiles, and also we are running the command line mode. That's why we're waiting. Okay, and also you want to read through all the ATO 1.ATO15, but I would say only do these when you are ready to start your developments. I would say reading them definitely is beneficial. You can give you a basic sense about how the game is supposed to work. You should have got that sense already after reading through these three documents, but I think these ones are basically what your phase one will be depending on exactly, right? So you want to be careful. Okay, so this is important. Any clarification needed for these requirements items, if you want to understand more about some sentences or some items or simply some insight about the game, you can feel free to post your questions on the course forum. Me or Kevin will actually help you out on clarifying the confusion. However, just make sure you don't share any design or implementation strategy on the forum. That will be considered as breaching the academic honesty policy, right? But any clarification about the instruction, you're more than welcome to post on the course forum. Let me just make it clear. And then when you implement the game, so these are the sequence. This is a sequence of items we will suggest. You can feel free to follow that. Just what we suggest. And for section number 7, we'll get there. Section number 7 is really about design documents. At the time, at the time the project is released, so section number 7 is not completed just yet, but it will be made available by the due date of your phase 1, because your phase 1 does not require any submission for the design documents, only for phase 2. But if I can make it earlier to be released, I'll make it earlier for you. Okay, so let me just go back there. Let me just tell you the rest of the document. We're almost done about the instruction, but of course you have to do the main job of reading. So I think we were just over here, right in the beginning of the getting started. Let me just tell you over here, right? Okay, so we are just finished about the suggested sequence for developments. Okay, so now let's see section number 5. So how do you get started for this project here? Apparently, since you're watching this video, that's definitely a good start. So basically, assuming that up to here you have done already. At the moment, it's simply just question mark because I'm recording the video, but it will be updated with the correct address URL later. So now this is very important for me to mention. Let me just talk about it right now. Okay. So there is one starter folder already in the docs folder called starter code, and then. So there are 2 IFO classes over here. You can see you're expected to use verbatim. You're not supposed to develop any further to these 2 classes. So how are you supposed to use these 2 classes? They are for you to generate random numbers. And then in order to do this, you have to read through section 6.13.7. So that section there tells you exactly the 2 occasions where you have to use a random number generator. You can, once you get to the instruction, that part, you will see exactly how to use it. Okay, let me just go back to the remote lab over here. So you can see every compilation, all the compilation is now done. So now I just want to show it to you. Okay, so how are you supposed to use that starter code? Basically, you can simply, let me just open a new terminal over here. So I can go to terminal, and then I will go to actually what? Let's just use the same terminal. That's fine. So I would say eStudio. Let me just do this. First of all, let me go into the docs, and then let me go into the starter code projects over here. Okay. Okay, it's simply a regular iPhone projects. Okay, so there are several classes over here you should really look at. So let me just show to you. So under the model cluster for this starter code projects, so for these two classes, you're not supposed to make any changes to them. You're simply just expected to really simply import them to your iPhone, to your projects for the Space Defender 2. Maybe most likely under the model cluster, right? You're going to move these two classes later just by yourself into, or copy them over into the model cluster of your Space Defender 2 projects. And then how are you supposed to use it? You can, we have some demonstration over here. You can simply go into root.e. Okay, you can see over here, we kind of show you exactly how to use the random number generator over here, right? You can simply just make sense out of them, and then you can simply copy the same usage in your Space Defender 2 projects. Just notice one thing here. We say that note that the first two numbers generated are always the minimum specified. So these are the demonstration for that particular property. So this property over here, as you will see later, it doesn't make sense for me to explain that now, but you should really read the documentation. So this will be useful for debugging purpose, but because later on, if you want to generate a particular random number in order to satisfy the design purpose for your projects, you may want to make use of the fact that the very first two numbers generated by the random number generator class will always be the minimum, just for the very first two numbers. Okay, just keep that in mind. It will make more sense to you later. Or if you still got confusion, put on the course forum. Let me close that. Okay. So I think I don't need to waste your time to actually compile this project. What you got to do is simply launch iPhone Studio either on a remote lab or simply on your own machine. And then you will simply just compile this project over here. You can see it got the regular starter code.ecf. You could just run it as a regular project. Later on, once you know how to use it, you can move these two classes into the model cluster of your Space Defender 2 projects. Okay, hopefully that's clear. Let me just go back to, it's really important that you read this section here. Otherwise, you wouldn't know how to use a random number generator. So you want to read it. Starting from section number 6 is really about the requirements for the game. So for this section over here, you have to read it through very carefully. Me and the TA, we try to write this section also very carefully. So, but if there's any confusion, you should really tell us as soon as possible. Otherwise, it will delay your design and implementation for your projects. Okay. So that's about section number 6. I wouldn't explain anything now, but I will hold a Q&A session to really go over some details with you. But don't wait for me. You should really start your reading as soon as possible. Okay, let me just go to, I think there's still remaining 1 or 2 sections in the PDF. Okay, let me just go there. Okay, section 6 is almost done. There's something about how you can debug the random number generator, but something I will show you in just a moment. That'll be the last stage for this tutorial video. I'll get there. But this section 6.16, so this might be, I think you will only reach this stage maybe in the later stage of your developments. Over there, it's just about the oracle.exe, just like in lab 3. The oracle.exe program kind of shows you the expected output for every scenario. And if you want to see exactly for this scenario here, what exactly is the random number that's generated under this behind the scene. So that's also something you can check on the Oracle. I'll show it to you in just a moment. Okay. Okay, and then there's a submission details, and we kind of divided that into phase 1 submission and phase 2 submission. So phase 1 submission, very similar to how you submitted your lab 3, very similar. You have to make sure you change your flag into command line rather than the default GUI mode. Okay, number 1. And also, you're gonna run the command. I'm gonna show this to you in just a moment. Okay, so the submission has been set up, so you can submit right away just to make sure everything works. And also we got phase 2 submission. Phase 2 submission will be exactly the same as phase 1 submission, except that for phase number 2, you have to include all the design document related items into the docs folder. And okay, and then if there's any question about the projects, any clarification needed, post on the forum or email me, and then we'll try to address that. If there's any changes that's needed on the documents, we'll put it on under the amendments. I'll also make an announcement to tell you about it. All right, so that's about the instruction here. You should do your reading, and then let me go back here. A few more things I would like to show. Number one, let's see the acceptance test, and then I need to show you the random number generator quickly. So let me just go back to the Space Defender 2, and some of you actually run into the trouble of not getting permission for running the Oracle. Let me see, in my case, if I say Oracle over here, let me just go back to the previous folder. Okay, so let's make sure. So now I'm still in my Space Defender 2 folder. So now if I try oracle.exe, okay, in my case, oracle.exe is actually executable. In case you don't have the permission, what you can do is you can say change mod 777 and then oracle.exe. That's what you can do. That can fix the permission. I think some of you also got trouble with running this regression testing script as well. Let me show it to you. So let me just go in there. If I go into regression testing, okay, and then if I simply try to run it, etf.test.py, all the parameters have been set up for you already, so you don't need to touch them, right? Unless really necessary for your own purpose. Okay, so let's run this, and then you can see basically it's now running. I think well, the good thing is all the 15 tests have been run, but the bad thing is, well, none of them passed. Well, that's kind of expected, right? Since I didn't do anything. So let's now see again. Let's just brush up your understanding from lab 3. So you can see, basically you can see running acceptance test, for example, for AT015, the 15th test case. You can see that one there, basically try to run from ifgens Space Defender 2 W code. Remember, we used the freeze option, and then Space Defender 2. Think about this is basically the executable compile from your projects. And then that has been written into AT015.actual.txt, the actual file. Let's just double check. If you go into log, go under instructor, and go, if you simply click on AT01, the actual.txt, you can see this is a default model operation, right? As we said before. So what you're supposed to do is to really develop your model cluster in a way that's going to match the expected file that is going to be generated from the Oracle, right? That's kind of the same workflow as we practiced in lab number 3. So now, how do you see the difference over here? Let me just remind you once more. You can copy any of the lines over here. You can simply just copy them, right? Copy, and then you can paste over here, and then simply run it. And that one is going to show you the melt. Okay, you can see lots of discrepancy now between the actual and expected. So in order to pass this particular test, it must be character by character identical to the Oracle output. That's something you have to do for your project, right? At least for phase 1. Let's now close this. Okay, so I think in case, one more thing, two more things actually. In case you cannot really run this ETF test.py, in case the permission is not permitted, you don't have permission, you can say change mod 777 and then ETF test.py. If you do that, and then if you try to run it again, it should be okay. In my case, the permission has been granted already, but in case it's not the case for you, you can change the mod. Okay, one more thing I'd like to show you, which is also very important. So now let me just cd ... Let me just go back to the main project folder over here. I want to speak about oracle.exe over here. Okay. So when you are implementing your game in a later stage, you will have you may actually have the need to actually debug to see if the random number generator has been really working. You have been using the random number generator in the way that's expected. So you may find the need to really see what's exactly the expected random number generator that's produced at this point of the game. So how do you do that? I'll just give you one example. So the random number generator debugging facility is only available on the oracle.exe. You do not need to implement this facility for your ETF project. You do not need to. So you only use this debugging facility on oracle.exe. So I'll just show you one example how to use it. You can refer to the instruction, the later part for section 6 to see how exactly to use it. So now let me simply launch oracle.exe. Okay, so let's say I want to do interactive mode to show you. If I do that over here, so let's say I simply say play. So I'll just give you some example. 510, and then 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. Exactly what these parameters really mean for the events. You have to read the instruction. Okay, if I do that, okay, whatever abstract state is, let me say the game has not been started yet. You should only use this debugging facility when the game has started. So I can say setup next 5. Okay, and again, how exactly the setup next is working, you should also read the instruction. I'm just skipping that, right? I just want to show you how you can use that debugging facility on the Oracle. And then, so now we are now already in the game. Notice that we are now in the game. So once you're in the game, you can now see the facility for debugging. So the spelling is toggle, T-O-G-G-L-E, toggle, and then RNG, standing for random number generator, and then underscore out. So this will show you the output for the random number generator. Okay. At the moment, basically once you do that, it's going to show RNG usage. If you say toggle RNG out again, it's not going to show the usage. It's like a toggle. You can flip the flag. Either you want to show it or not to show it. So now we will show it. Okay, so now I can simply say pass, for example. You can see when I say pass, I will see RNG usage over here. So that's really showing to you the first generated number. Okay, the number that's generated for this current turn. And then if I say pass again, it's really showing to me again the random number generator. Okay, if I say pass again, it's also showing me a different random number generator, different random number that's generated. Okay, hopefully you see the point. And now how do I turn it off? I can say toggle RNG underscore out. So now you can see it's now going to hide it, right? It's like a toggle, it's like a flag. And now if I say pass again, now you can see it's not shown anymore for the random number generator. So you don't really just use the toggle RNG out for the pass. You can use for any commands to really see what's really the random number that's generated for whatever relevant command it is. Okay, so now let me emphasize again. So this toggle RNG out command is only available on the Oracle. It's only for you to debug the expected random number generated. That's only for that purpose. For your particular project, for the Space Defender 2, you do not need to implement this facility. And also, if you run this command, it will not be available on the generator starter project on your Space Defender 2. Okay, let me emphasize that. Okay, so now I think finally what we want to do now is to submit your projects just to make sure everything can be submitted. Okay, you don't need to develop anything just to make sure everything is working. At least you can submit something. Okay, so let me, so you can see PWD. I'm now under my project, the project folder I created initially, but this is not where to submit, right? You can see this is a generated, this is where everything is generated. I should go to CD, dot. So this Space Defender 2 is really the folder I want to submit. So the Space Defender 2 consists of another subfolder, Space Defender 2. So this is the top folder I want to submit. But should we submit now? No, we shouldn't, because ifgens is still here. So we should really clean it. So let's do it. Make sure you don't really submit the ifgen. It's going to make your submission excessively longer than necessary. And also that's not very good for the server storage. Okay, we're going to say eclean, and then we're going to say Space Defender 2. Make sure you really eclean the ifgens folder before you submit. Please be nice to our server storage. Okay, so once you're done, we can now submit. So we can say submit 3311 project capital P, and then the Space Defender 2 project, and don't forget, this is the top folder that contains another Space Defender 2 sub-project, right? Subfolder. Okay, just don't forget. Otherwise, you're going to fail the basic checks for another reason. Okay, so now it's simply just going to submit everything here. You can see without ifgens, it's actually much quicker. If you got ifgens, it's going to take longer. Okay, so now we want to, you just have to wait for the compilation to succeed. So now I simply just jump to the end of the compilation and also for the submission. So everything is good as far as the compilation and running the test was concerned. But you can see that it's kind of expected we got errors from the basic check. It's simply because none of the acceptance tests that was given to you from AT001 to AT015. That's kind of expected. So what your task right now is to really try to make the test passing one by one in order to satisfy your grading criteria for phase number 1, which is about 3 weeks from the project is released. Hopefully you will be able to pass all the basic checks. Even if you can only pass certain test cases, you might be able to receive some partial marks, but you have to refer to the phase 1 grading criteria more carefully. Okay, I'm going to leave you to look at that for the precise instruction. Okay, so that's about everything to set up your starter projects for this final project for the course. You're given basically 5 weeks to make your final phase 2 submission, but this project here is going to be done individually, so it's definitely going to require discipline and time management for you. As ever, if you got any trouble of running the iFlow Studio or learning applying the design ideas, or just about iFlow syntax or anything related to finishing these projects, please get in touch with us earlier rather than later so we can help you out.